the workshop today. So before we get started, I'm just going to go through all the materials that you have in the kit. So have you got them all outside the box in front of you?
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. Yes. So you should have got a glass jar similar to this one, or the same one, depending on which size you went for. Then you should have a bag as well with about 200 grams of wax, depending again on the size you went for. So the wax is what we're going to have to melt. So if you don't have a microwave, I think Harriet was the one without a microwave. If you can start heating your water now, just to save time, that would be great. And have a little bowl on the side as well, so that you can put your wax inside the bowl a little bit later, put it inside the pot, and then start melting it, like as if you were melting chocolate. It's the same, exactly the same. Perfect. Then you will have your essential oil blend in 2 little pipettes like this with the fragrance of your choice. So we had 5 different fragrances. I think Aurélie had Chalet, which is sandalwood, juniper, and cedar, which is inspired by the Alps, actually, quite close to where she lives. Funnily enough. I think then we've got Secret, which is the tobacco, tonka, and bergamot as well. Some of you had the lavender, chamomile, and jasmine, which is a great scent to help you with sleep as well. And is anyone on the video got petals as well?
I think Alice had petals.
Okay, so petals is a combination of tuberose, jasmine, and ylang ylang. So all the scents that you have, I've already blended them for you. So all the essential oils are already blended, and they're all been formulated. These scents in particular, inspired by different memories from around the world. So you will have a little card that I've included to tell you a little bit more about the story of the scent. And yeah, so I think let's recap on the rest. So we've got the essential oils, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about the difference between essential oils and synthetic, just in case that's of interest to you as well, because I think as a consumer, and if you like candles, I think that's a very important thing to know. And you will have a cotton wick as well, like this. There are different types of wicks in the market. You can get cotton wicks like this one, or you can also get wood wicks. For today, we're gonna do the cotton wicks because they're a little bit easier to work with. Then you will have also 2 labels. So there is a label that I've included that is blank, so you can name your candle the way you would like it. You can be as creative as you like. But there's another sort of round label like this. And this one is what's called a safety or CLP label, and that is a legal requirement in Europe and in UK. So every candle, even if you're making it for yourself, should have a label as well, like this. This is just some guidance on how to use your candle safely, but also regarding the ingredients. Because essential oils and synthetic oils or fragrance oils, even though some of them are natural, they're highly concentrated, and as a result, they can cause allergies and reactions on people. So one of the reasons for this label is in case you have a reaction, that you can tell your doctor, what are the ingredients in your candle and so on. So it's a little bit of a boring stuff, but important to know, especially if you're gonna get into making more candles. Then you will have a mixing jug as well, like this one, a whisk, and a chopstick.
Yes.
I think for the little candle, you don't get a chopstick, you get a clothing peg instead. Okay, so that's pretty much it when it comes to the contents. Has anyone made a candle before or attempted to make a candle before?
Yes.
It's not as easy as it looks. There's a lot of time needed to find the right wick for your container size, because if the wick is too small, it will extinguish itself or it will tunnel, which means that it won't melt all the way around the edges. And that happens with a lot of the cheaper candles that you can get out there in the market, that sometimes they only burn in the center and then you have a lot of leftover wax, which, so here I've already put a wick for you that, works for your container size. And the same with the essential oils or the fragrances. You need to choose the right wick depending on the oil combination that you're using. Otherwise, the same problems can happen. So I've already tested everything for you. So you've saved that time. But if you want to explore this further, just be aware that that is one of the things that you would need to try. So if you want to make candles in the future, make sure that you get different size wicks so that you can test them and make sure that you make more than one candle so that you know what wick size works for your vessel. Okay. Another way to do it is if you have like an oven dish, you can fill the oven dish with the wax and then put the wicks inside, and then you can see how big the diameter of the melted wax is, and that will give you an indication as to what sort of wick size to go for as well. So that's just a curiosity for those that want to take this further. But yeah, and if you have any questions at any point, just ask me as well. The other thing that I think it's interesting for you to know is the difference between essential oils and synthetics. So essential oils are occurring in nature. They are not made in a lab. They are highly concentrated forms of a plant or a resin or petals, any part of a flower, a tree, resin. And what makes them so precious is that they are highly concentrated forms of what makes that plant survive in nature. So for flowers, it would be the scent that attracts the bees for the pollination, and so on. So you need a lot of ingredient to be able to get a few milliliters of the oil. And that's why they're quite pricey as well. But throughout the years, and that's how in the world of fragrance from the very, ancient times, essential oils were used as medicine as well, and as before the pharmaceutical industry came about. So a lot of essential oils were used to cure and to treat conditions, and the most traditional form of perfumery was using purely essential oils too. So it's something that goes back years, but in the late 19th century, the chemical and industry started to flourish, and a lot of developments happened, not only in the pharmaceutical industry, but also the synthetics, synthetic fragrances came out as well. And that's basically a replacement. Is something that tries to mimic the scent of a natural essential oil with a lower cost. And they're all derived from the petrochemistry arm of things. So they play with the molecules to recreate the actual molecule of the essential oil. And that's how they can create a lot of different smells and scents that are quite similar to those in nature. And things like fruits, for example, like strawberry, melon, coconut, all of those scents, they're all synthetic. You can't make essential oil from a fruit. The only fruits that you can is the citrus fruits, like lemon, grapefruit, and so on, because they actually extract the essential oil from the skin. That's where it comes from. So a good tip if you're looking for candles, if you want to, or fragrances in general, if you want to know whether it's natural or synthetic, because they don't always tell you the truth, is to see what the scent is. If it's quite fruity, then, or like sea breeze, or things like that are quite abstract, they are either synthetic, or sea breeze or abstract ones could be a combination of essential oils that they've blended together to sort of evoke that sort of scent. But yeah, so that's quite an interesting thing. And it doesn't mean that synthetic scents are bad. Does not, some of them are, because they contain things that particles that are cancerous, for example, or carcinogens, but most of them are safe. However, they don't have any therapeutic benefits. So if you like to use your scented candles or your home fragrance to relax and, have a glass of wine while you, have a nice candle burning and relaxing, fragrance scents, they'll smell amazing, but they won't give you that sort of, therapeutic benefit that essential oil candles would. Yeah, so that's an important thing for you to know as consumer as well. Any questions about the difference? No? Okay, another thing that I think is important to know is the wax, which is another one of the main ingredients we're going to use today. You've got different types of wax in the market. The cheapest one and the most, widely used is paraffin. Paraffin wax is got like a slightly white, translucent appearance, and it's also derived from petroleum. So it burns really quickly, and it releases also toxins that are not particularly good for you. Most paraffin candles release a lot of black smoke as well, and if you burn them in your house, you will start to notice that in your ceiling there starts to be like a bit of a black sort of smoke in some areas. So so they're not great, and a lot of brands out there still use them, like Yankee Candle, but even luxury brands that you'll be surprised to know use them, such as Diptyque and Joe Malone. They have paraffin wax. Yeah. And in fact, Diptyque is all synthetic fragrance. And Joe Malone is a mixture of both synthetic and natural. But Yankee Candles obviously is all 100% synthetic. But yeah, it's important to know the difference between the different types of waxes, and they all behave in different ways as well. So if you want to make candles in the future, if you work with natural waxes like soy, coconut, or rapeseed, they behave in a different way to paraffin, and you will need different wicks as well, depending on the type of wax that you're using. Yes, so that's when it comes to you also have actually beeswax, which is also natural, but it's obviously not vegan because it comes from the bees. And it smells really nice. It's got a nice sweet smell to it. So even if you make a candle with no fragrance in it, a beeswax candle will smell quite nice and subtle. So that's another one to know. But yeah, that's pretty much all the theory for the workshop. And now let's start making your candle. So the first thing to do is making sure that your glass is clean inside. So if you have a little bit of a cloth or just give it like a gentle blow inside, just making sure that you remove any dust particles that will be inside your glass. Let me know when you're ready. Because I can see you guys moving, but I don't know.
I'm ready.
Right. And then you will have your wick. And then I've included 2 sticky pads in the pack as well, like this. Because usually I use hot glue, but I'm assuming that not everyone has got a hot glue gun at home for the workshop. So I thought let's include some sticky pads that you can use. Now, the sticky pads are not great because they're not as as sticky as hot glue, obviously. But this should work. I've been testing them and they work just fine. So what you just need to do is if you remove the sticky, sorry, not the sticky, if you peel off both sides and then stick them to the bottom of your wick where the aluminum sort of base is. And when you're ready, once both sides are also peeled off, then you just need to aim for the center of the bottom of the glass. So try, because once you've stick it on, it doesn't come off. So try and be as accurate as possible. Got my dog joining the workshop. So
Oh, oh, cute.
want to say hello?
What kind of dog do you have?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Oh, so sweet.
I've got mine too, guys. You just can't see it.
Oh.
He's so
Got a
cute.
very cute dog as well.
I've got another one. Her sister should be around as well. But she's the one that comes to the workshop with me most of the time.
oh, that's so cute.
So once you've once you've got it in the bottom of the container, let me know and we can move on to the next step. Actually, if you can use either the back of your wick or your chopstick to actually apply a little bit of pressure on the metallic base, just to make sure that it's really sticking properly.
Mhm.
And then try to gently pull the top of the wick like this, not too hard, just a little bit, just to make sure it doesn't come off before we pour the wax inside.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all good. Brilliant. So now is when we need to start melting the wax. So if you put, actually, let's do the instructions for the one for Harriet that hasn't got a microwave. So basically, you just put all the wax. I've already put enough wax for your candle. So if you put the wax in the bowl and then put it inside the the hob.
Yeah, the water, yeah.
Brilliant. So, and then you should stir it with, you can use the whisk. Just keep stirring it until it's a consistent sort of liquid gold color. And it shouldn't get too hot. So once you've seen that it has all melted and you haven't got any sort of like lumps of wax, then turn the heat off and you're ready.
Cool.
Okay, and then for those of you with a microwave, just stick the wax inside your jug. The jug is microwave proofed as well, which is quite handy. So stick all of it in there. Hopefully it will all fit. If not, we can add a little bit more.
Okay.
So if it doesn't all fit, just put some of it, stick it in the microwave. Let's do it, because depending on the microwave setting, sometimes it melts quicker or not quick. So let's do it in 1 minute at a time. So put it in for 1 minute, see how it comes out, and then put it again until everything's melted and you have like a gold liquid consistency.
Okay.
And give it a little stir every time you take it out.
Mine doesn't all fit, so I'll do the, I'll melt
Do
this
half,
and put the rest
melt
in.
it, and then add a little bit more.
Full power? Is it on full power?
Full power, yeah.
For a minute.
For a minute, and let's see. It should take a few minutes, so it'll take a couple of attempts. But let's, better be too cold, a little bit on the colder side than too hot.
What happens if you overheat it?
Because if it's too hot, once you add the essential oils, it will burn them, so you will lose some of the scent. So this is why it shouldn't be higher than 70 degrees. But obviously, I'm assuming you don't have a thermometer to take the temperature. I'll show you what I use for mine. Is I've got this little friend here,
Oh, wow.
which is a melter. So
It's almost like you're a professional.
so it keeps the temperature always at the right time, and you can have 30 liters at a time. So it saves. I used to do the Vine Marie every time, but that saves so much time.
How many candles do you make in a go then?
I try to make it in small batches, so it varies from depending on the season, because Christmas tends to be the busiest time for us candle makers. So then I would be making batches of like hundreds, whereas usually throughout the year I would be batches of like 50 to 100 at a time. And as they sell out, then I make more. Just as well, I'm trying to keep everything as zero waste as possible.
Great.
only got the diddy candle, so I think mine might be done after 1 minute.
Ah, yeah, that's fine. So then in that case, if you feel the bottom of your jug, how hot does it feel?
It's quite hot.
Quite hot. Okay, let it rest for a little bit then.
Ah. Oh.
How's everyone else going?
I put mine in for a minute and it looks like that. I'm assuming I need to keep going.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Bet it must smell really nice at your place, Miguel.
Well, with the dog, sometimes it's a little tricky. But yeah, it's full of candles and diffusers. So the workshop actually smells really nice because I've got all the candles and all the scents in here. So it's a bit of a sort of combination of everything.
Mhm. I think I can put, well, I will put everything now.
Yeah, put everything because I've put a little bit more because sometimes you always get a little bit of wax residue on your cup. So
Okay.
just make sure that you've got enough. Because the next step is going to be adding the oils to the wax. So,
Okay.
like a cooking class.
So I was gonna ask so I've got loads of candles, and then when they kind of burn down too low for me to like actually get my hand in and light them again, can you like melt that wax down and like remake it into another?
I give you a little tip at the end.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Oh.
You can make a wax melt that you can use if you have a burner, for example.
I did, and it works. Yes. Yeah.
I think that's
That looks perfect. So if you just keep whisking it, how does it feel when you touch the glass?
it's quite hot.
Okay, good. So I think we're in a good place. How are you getting on, Harriet?
We're nearly done.
Okay. I can hear the whisking.
Sorry.
how's yours, Lily?
It hasn't melted all yet, but as it's really hot, I'm starting to wait.
Yeah, if you stir it, because it's hot from the heat, it will actually.
Yep. Can you see?
Oh yeah.
I think try 30 seconds instead of a minute.
Yeah.
What temperature should it be?
Unmelted.
It should be 70 degrees.
Should you be able to put your fingers on it or not quite? I don't know what 70 degrees
It's a
is.
little bit too hot. I wouldn't put your finger in it.
Okay. Because mine's quite hot, but I think it's probably the temperature it should be.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you that have got the temperature ready, or you think you're ready to go, just what you need to do is pour the contents of the oils into the jug. Now, a little trick so that it doesn't spill is if you put the little pipette like that. I can't hold it. Let me see if I can try. Yeah, like this. So if you put the pipette like this and then you pour the oil on the pipette, it will actually fall nicely in the jug. It won't spill or it won't make a mess.
Ah.
Okay. Do you put all of it in?
All of it. Yeah, you've got the right amount for your size candle.
That industry secret there.
And also another important thing to know about candles is that depending on the wax, it will hold a different fragrance to wax ratio. So if you want to make candles in the future, depending on the wax that you choose, you should always find out what is the maximum scent load, it's called, of that wax. So for the one that you're making, which is a combination of rapeseed and soy wax, because it's the most sustainable blend possible out there, it's locally grown rapeseed, it can hold a maximum of 10% fragrance load. So you've got 10%, it's quite strong and it makes it a little bit mushy. So you've got about 9% in your pipette. So for the big ones, you've got 2 pipettes. For the small ones, you would have 1.
Okay.
And does it matter how quickly we pour them in or not? Just
You can just pour it in any way you like and then stir it. And you need to stir it for at least 2 minutes.
Ah,
And then you stir it, I would say a minute clockwise and another minute anti-clockwise.
okay.
Doesn't need to be, you know, accurate, super accurate, but you know, that's the best amount of time to make sure that the wax and the oils are actually sort of blending well together. You start to smell the candle now, and that's almost like the same scent throw or the same scent that you're gonna get when you lighting your candle in the future.
Does everyone smell really nice?
Yeah.
delicious.
Like there's nothing better than having your candle burning, but nothing even better than having your own candle that you made burning.
Exactly.
I never used to put enough essential oil when I do my own candle. I put like 10 drops.
Yeah, then you can't smell anything. And that's another thing as well with essential oils. They don't smell as strong as synthetic.
Yeah.
So you need to put a little bit more. And they're also more expensive essential oils than fragrance.
Of course,
So
yeah.
to give you an example, a 5 milliliter bottle of oil can cost you anything between £60 and £5, depending on the oil. Like orange or, you know, someone said mandarin is on the affordable side. So it's about, I think, £5 for a 10 ml bottle from ELM.Rd or places like that. But it really depends on the oil. Like sandalwood is super expensive. Neroli, which is orange blossom, is also very expensive. They are like you know, £60 for a 10 ml bottle upwards. Yeah. So that's what drives the cost up, and that's why a lot of candle brands choose the synthetic ones, because they're a lot
cheaper.
So where can you buy like a really trusted like natural oils candle? ELM.Rd.
I think from the ones that I've actually tried and tested myself, Neom is quite good as well. But there are not that many, and a lot of indies. I would trust more an independent brand that uses essential oils than a big one, because there's a lot of greenwashing going on right now.
Yeah.
But Neom is the one brand that I would say started off as 100% natural, and I think they're still today pretty much essential oil based. They're a little bit more expensive as well, but at the same time, if you compare them to Jo Malone or, you know, Diptyque or the White Company, they're not that much more expensive, and you're getting a, you know, a natural product. So yeah.
That's really good to know. See nice smells going on in Amy's camera.
Okay, so once you've actually blended, have you whisked for 2 minutes already?
Yes.
Yeah. So once you've done that, just give it a little gentle whisk before we actually pour it inside your container. So give it one final whisk.
One final whisk.
Yeah, like a few times. And then what you need to do is just pour it in your black container. and then there should be enough that it gets almost to the top. Obviously, don't overflow it. Just make sure that there's like about perhaps 5 millimeters of a gap at the top.
Mhm.
And again, some people have got pouring techniques. I just pour, and they turn out nicely. But depending on the temperature of the wax when you pour, it should be a little bit cooler. So this is why we waited a little longer. Should be around 55 to 60 degrees, depending on the wax. And that will give you a nice sort of consistency once it goes solid.
Do I have to hold the wick?
Yeah, mine's
No.
moving a bit.
Yeah, you can leave the wick, just don't pull it too hard, because we're gonna use the chopstick to center the wick in a sec.
Ah.
So you can let it, you know, fall wherever it falls.
And it was 5 millimeters you pour it up to.
Yeah, about 5 millimeters, yeah, give or take. It's gonna, once it goes cold, it's gonna go down slightly. So even if you're very close to the rim, it doesn't matter, as long as you don't go over.
All right. Shoot. Let's see.
Okay, so now you've poured your candle. It's just the last finishing touches that we need to do. The first, what we need to do now is actually, let's wait until Lily comes back. But if you have a peg, if you have a chopstick or a peg, let me show you both options. Got my peg here. So let's do the chopstick first, because the majority of you have got it. So what you do is you put the wick in the middle of the chopstick, like that, and then you center it pretty much. Make sure that it's around the middle of the, you know, of the glass. And then you fold it over the chopstick, just like this. You see it?
Hmm.
So it's just fold it. So if you put it straight, you just bend it, and then it rests on your chopstick.
Ah.
Should the chopstick be resting on the jar?
Yes, I'm just, yeah.
And then you fold it round.
Exactly. So you would have something like this. And
Ah, cool, great, thank you.
Yeah, why do we fold it?
Yeah.
Why do we fold it over the chopstick, just to keep it in place?
Just to keep it tense. Because if you leave it straight, then it might start because the heat from the wax might start melting the wick a little bit, because it's coated in wax.
Oh, okay.
So then it might start falling back inside. So I bent it so that it's a little bit tense and it doesn't move from there.
Cool.
And that's
Peg one, please.
and the peg, yes, sorry. So the peg one, if you place it on top of your, actually let me get a little one. So that's your size. So you put the wick again in the center and you hold it with the peg. So if you push the wick all the way to the middle of the peg,
Sure. Shit.
and then you rest it on the candle like that.
Do you not have to bend that one?
No, because this is actually, because it's quite tight, the way the peg is closing it, is holding it, you don't need to bend it.
When I bend it, it feels like it's a bit bendy inside.
Oh, that might be because it's come off at the bottom.
No, it hasn't.
Okay, then is it properly, have you tensed it so that it's straight inside? Because sometimes it gives you that impression because of the wax,
Ah, yeah, maybe.
but it's actually not.
Maybe it's just the impression.
Yeah. It's like when you put a pencil in a glass of water, it gives you the impression the pencil is.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that okay? Did you manage to?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, I think so.
Can you bring the camera closer? Maybe. So that-
How do I do that? Where am I? There.
Oh, there.
yeah, that's fine.
It's okay?
Yeah, that's good. And that's it. So now it needs to stay in that position. And
Okay.
it will take, depending on the size, the small one, a day is fine. But the other one, sorry, a day, 4 hours, 8 hours is fine. For the other one, you will need to leave it in that position or in that place without moving it too much for at least 24 hours until it goes
Ooh.
fully solid. I would allow it to cure before you actually light it for a few days.
Yeah.
So just let it set. Once it's set, all you need to do is trim the wick and cut it. So you can use a pair of scissors, or you can use, if you have a wick trimmer, probably you don't, something like this. But if not, just a regular pair of scissors. What you do is, if that's your candle, right, and it's gone solid, all you do is you cut the wick with the scissors like that to about centimeter above the wax. That should be the ideal length for the first time. But just do that when it's solid, because if you do it now, you're gonna mess it up.
Okay.
And then the last steps, which you can do as well after, we could have done it earlier, but the reason why I avoid putting the sticker or the labels before you pour is that if you pour over or it overflows, then you're damaging your label. So it's always better to do it afterwards. So tomorrow or later tonight, when it's all gone solid and you can lift it again, you can remove the chopstick, you can trim the wick, and then you can stick your label on your vessel. Obviously, write down the name that you want to give your candle as well. And then finally, the last finishing touch is just to stick your warning label at the bottom of it.
Perfect.
And that's pretty much it. You made your first candle.
Yay!
Brilliant. Now, some tips for looking after your candles, which I think are very important and not everyone knows, is that after you light your candle, so in between uses, when you are ready to relight it, always trim the wick. So you should cut it. You can do that with your fingers. You just snap off the burnt bit. You should leave it to about half a millimeter. Sorry, not half a millimeter, half a centimeter. And that will make sure that it burns nicely. It doesn't, give you soot or black smoke as well, because obviously you're burning cotton that has already burnt. So that's likely to release some sort of black smoke. And that's a very good tip. And then another one is that instead of blowing it out, try and cover it with something. Or if you don't have a snuffer is like those old, old style sort of things to put out your candle. You can just use a dish or something just to put it, or even like what do you call it, a coaster. Just put it on top, and because the oxygen will go because of the heat, then the flame will just extinguish itself. And again, it won't give you smoke. If you blow it, the wax could splash all over your face as well. So it's a little bit dangerous, and it will give you a nasty burnt smell as well, that will spoil the nice fragrance in your room.
Yeah.
So. Now, in the unlikely event that this one tunnels, because I've already checked the wick size, tunneling is when it burns right in the center, but not in the sides. You can use some foil, some aluminum foil, and wrap it around your glass. So that is a tip that you can use on other candles that you may have from other brands in your house, that you can see that is always burning only in the center. If you wrap the foil, because the heat will concentrate, it will melt it all around as well. And the thing with natural waxes is that they have a memory. So soy wax, coconut wax, rapeseed wax, they will remember where you burnt it to. So if you burnt, you should always burn your candles until you have melted wax all around the top. So if you burn it for like 15 minutes at a time and you only get like a little bit of melted wax, then it will remember and it will always keep burning the same way. Does that make sense? So always allow it to melt consistently all around. So usually if you look at the label, it says between 1 to 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours at a time. Also, don't let it burn for more than 4 hours because it might get too hot. And also your glass could explode if it gets too hot. Shouldn't happen, but you know, there's been reported cases. So yeah, so that's pretty much when it comes to looking after your candle. So always melt it consistently, trim your wick. Another thing that may happen, I don't think it will happen because it's summer and it's quite hot in the air. Depending on the room temperature, sometimes when it sets at the top, you will see little tiny holes. It happens with natural wax. That is normal. If you don't like it because it doesn't look that pretty, what you can do is you can use a heat gun or a hair dryer, and on the lowest heat setting, just melt the top a little bit. And then it will melt those little holes and it will give you a nice, even, smooth surface. So that's just in case tomorrow when you look at your candle, it's got little bubbles or little holes on the top. That's the obsidian that comes up. Okay, another tip. And the last tip, which is when you actually have because I was meaning to do a video to put on my Instagram to show you how to get rid of the wax at the bottom. So is Amanda's question earlier. And also, if you want to reuse your glass for another candle or for anything else, you know, for your there you go. But it's nice for your toilet for your toothbrush or for your makeup brushes and things like that. Some people use them like that as well. So the best way to clean them or to reuse some of the wax is if you put on the kettle, or next time you put on the kettle for your coffee or your tea, when the water is hot, pour the boiling hot water inside, and then what that will do is it will melt the wax and it will bring it to the top. So what will happen is if you let it dry, after a few hours, you will have a nice layer of wax at the top, quite hard. So what you can do is just, if you push the wax, obviously do this in the sink because sometimes the water can splash all over you. But if you go to the sink and just push gently on or tap on the solid wax, it will come off as a piece. So you will have a nice round piece of wax that you can use on your, you know, as a wax melt, or, you know, you can melt it somehow. But also when you pour the hot water, you will get the nice smell as well. But that's just like a tip to reuse some of the excess wax inside. Otherwise, just remove that solid wax, then rinse it a little bit again, and just give it a little wipe, and then you will have a nice clean container ready to be reused. This one, for example, is a reused one. You can still see the sticker marks in there, but you know, it comes out like brand new. With the sticky pads, if you put a little bit of boiling water, and even with your chopstick, if you just stir it, don't fill it up to the top, just until about here with the hot water, and just stir it, the sticky pads should dissolve in the water, and then you can just get rid of the water inside, and you should be all clean and empty inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Cool. So that's pretty much it. Have you got any more questions for me, or?
So if I want to move my candle from here to here, like half a meter, can I or not?
I wouldn't do it now.
Okay.
Because what it will do is it will move the wax inside, and that might give you more bubbles. It might affect, because what the wax and the oils is doing right now, they're crystallizing together. So they're forming a new relationship. And that's why they need to set for a long time, so that they can actually gel together and give you enough consistency.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Anyone else have any questions?
How are we doing for time?
Very good time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I hope everyone's houses smell really nice right now.
So nice.
Definitely.
Cool.
Enjoyed it too, and that you learned something new today.
Yay! We do.
Great. I hope everyone enjoys burning their candles tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow.
Right.
Let it cure.
Let it cure. Then a nice evening, maybe on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Just, have a nice glass of wine or a nice tea and enjoy your candle.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much, Miguel,
Thank you very
for
much.
leading that.
Thank you very much. It's great.
And thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a great weekend. Lovely to meet you.
Bye.
Thank you so much again. It's great.
Thanks.
Bye.